Welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic, the podcast where belief meets doubt and ambition meets, well, a little healthy skepticism.
I'm Sharon, and I am skeptical and a realist at heart. I believe that hard work, late nights, and bottom lines produce results, but I'll play along.
And I'm Jennifer, your friendly manifester, who believes that mindset and energy can shape reality just as much as strategy and spreadsheets, and I would argue, probably a little bit more.
We've known each other since our 20s, coming up through the grind of traditional business. Now, I'm asking a question I never thought I would. Is manifestation real, or is it just a new age sales pitch?
Join us as we deep dive into what manifestation really is, how it might work in your favor, and what it takes to break through that inner skeptic.
Because let's be honest, we all want to believe, but no one likes the feeling that they're being deceived.
So whether you're a dreamer or a doubter, tune in because I'm going to challenge Sharon to shift her perspective.
And I'm going to challenge Jennifer right back.
And every week there will be an opportunity to put this to the test. So stick around. We're about to find out if there's more to manifestation than meets the eye.
Well, hello, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. You gave me a
Good.
lot
How'd
to
it go?
think. Well, you gave me a lot to think about last week. And some interesting things came about, but I'm going to sit in the skeptic head for a little while. Do you remember the homework you gave me?
I certainly do. What did you choose? Coffee or red balloon?
So I tried both. I had no luck with the red balloon.
Okay.
And I did choose coffee, but I'm not much of a coffee drinker. So there might have been a bit of really weird doubt in my head when I was trying to do everything you asked me to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Having said that, anybody who knows me knows that my absolute love is ice cream and gelato.
Okay.
So here's what did happen the following day, and that
Okay.
was as you know, I broke my arm 2 months ago, and I'm not always the happiest camper, but a lovely friend who lives in my building knocked on my door and showed up with an ice cream bar,
Aha.
totally unprompted, and absolutely delighted me. So I'm going to say coffee and ice cream. Sometimes the chocolate tastes close enough that I think that works, but I'm open to maybe you saying it doesn't.
No, I think that's a perfect example of the minute that I offered you the coffee experiment in your head, in your mind, you went, well, I don't really like coffee. So, but I'll try. And what did you end up manifesting was something that you really did love, but it still came for free. It came unexpected. You didn't buy it yourself. And I mean, take it.
Well, here's the thing, even better than the actual ice cream. You know how every once in a while something happens and you get that lovely little heart squeeze?
Yes,
Um, that's what I got out of it.
that's perfect. I call them little miracles.
Okay. I find it more like it's a delight.
Okay, so that's very interesting, and I will offer this to you. I keep a list in a notebook of what I call my little miracles, and I keep note of them, even if it is an ice cream cone, or I find a quarter on the ground, or I'm delighted by birds singing around me. I see them as miracles because if you start keeping track of the miracles in your life, you're less likely to look at the not so nice things in your life. So I call them my little list of miracles. Maybe what I could offer to you is to start a little list. You can call it your list of delights, but start keeping track of these wonderful moments and little things in your life that are so fun.
Hmm. So let me throw this at you. One of the things that I try to do in the evenings, right before I go to bed, is kind of think about what I was grateful for during the day.
Yeah.
Does that line up with some of the stuff that you talk about?
Yes. Because once again, if we focus our attention on all the good things in our life, and being grateful is focusing on the good things in our life, even if we can find a moment of greatness in a tragedy or in an accident, just like your arm, for example, you're attracting more good things into your life, which is why everyone says practice gratitude. And for the beginner, people are like, well, what does that have to do with me getting everything I want in my life? When you
Hmm.
focus on the good things in your life, more good things flow. When you focus on the things that you are grateful for, if you're grateful for it, chances are you really love it. And I think we take for granted even the smallest things, like being grateful for a breath every morning. You attract more breath. You attract more love. You attract more health. You attract more wealth. When you focus on the things that you're grateful for, it attracts more of that into your life.
So you had me thinking last week about my broken arm,
Yeah.
and I'm still having trouble on how some of these not really great things that happen are opportunities for manifesting.
Okay. Um, Probably the person that would could describe this best, and she's written many books on it. So we don't want to spend our whole session on this today. We could at a later day. Is Louise Hay. And what Louise Hay says about accidents is that accidents are not and they are never random, but instead they are a reflection of what's going on in your inner thoughts, in your emotions, in your unresolved beliefs. Okay? So they are expressions of mental patterns, feeling guilty, feeling frustrated, or feeling the need to be punished for something. If
Hmm.
you feel guilty and you feel like you should be punished, the universe will give you the punishment that you feel that you deserve.
So, what if you can't really put your finger on that in terms of I deserve to be punished for something?
Well, I think that this is again a very very big subject that deserves more than just a 2 minute reflection, but and no one's going to like this answer because for us type A's it's really hard. Sit quietly and ask the universe what it wants you to reflect on, what it wants you to pause and think about, what you might learn from this. Stop and pay attention to the thoughts in your head and slow them down so that we can learn from the things that we don't want to manifest in our life.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so you're using the word again, manifest, and you are also using a lot of the words law of attraction. So
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm really clear on the difference between the two.
Okay. So if you think about something manifesting, it means it's coming into your 3D reality world. Again, big words. What that means is you can see it, taste it, smell it, touch it, hear it, right? Those five senses. Manifesting something means that you can actually, the manifested is I can see it, I can taste it, I can touch it, I can hear it, I can smell it. Okay.
Okay.
That's what we want. It's the end result, is the manifestation. What brings it to us is a law that is the law of attraction. It's a law, just like gravity is a law. And the law of attraction is the idea that your thoughts create your reality. So every thought you have is an affirmation. And whether that's a positive or negative, whatever you repeatedly tell yourself becomes your truth. So if you think things like, why am I always struggling? What you're saying is, I am always struggling. So the universe says, your wish is my command. I will give you struggle. If you affirm instead, life is working in my favor, you start experiencing more positive outcomes. So
Okay.
again, it is the thoughts that create the reality. And when you're always in a state of want or lack, you will continue to attract want and lack. Make sense?
Got it. But I'm going to make you do this again at some point.
Of course, this is tough stuff. Listen, as I said last time, this I've been studying this for decades and I'm not an expert. Like
Hmm.
we're all on a scale of getting better. And if you're in the baby stages, this is tough stuff. We're talking about quantum physics. It's tough stuff.
This is it, right? Like you know me, I want an owner's manual. Like what's page one, step one?
We'll get there. That's what we're writing, Sharon.
There you go. Yeah, so that was my ice cream, not coffee thing that
Experiment.
happened this week. Yeah, that was my experiment.
Okay, well, I
Nothing
have
with
one
the
to share
balloon.
as well.
I played with the balloon, but nothing happened there.
That's okay. We'll get back to the balloon. I have one to share as well. So on February 19th,
Excellent.
it was my birthday. And
Wow.
one of my very dearest friends sent me my horoscope for the day, which I always enjoy a good horoscope. And so my horoscope basically said that if the only thing that I should be worrying about in the coming year is not worrying about anything at all. And if I'm looking to reach targets that were previously out of reach, this new positive outlook is an absolute must, right? So I'm like, And then she sent me a little song to go with it. And the song was Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. So that
Right.
was on my birthday. The evening of my birthday, we went out for my birthday dinner. We sat down at this lovely table, and there was a live band playing in the background. And just for the record, we were not in the islands, we're in Florida. And all of a sudden, this band that was playing jazz started going into a rendition of Three Little Birds by Bob Marley.
Hmm.
And again, I did the reaction where I went, "Oh, I can't even believe this is happening." And so I videoed, I couldn't see the band, but I videoed just so I could hear the sound and I sent it to my friend. And then the very next day, I looked out the window and there were three little green parrots sitting on the tree outside my doorstep. And so, you can say this is all coincidence, but really coincidence is not a coincidence. It's all on purpose. Three little birds, one, two, three examples of that kept coming into my life in the 24-hour period. So it's just fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, part of my head is saying, oh, it's just a confluence of events. It's a bunch of coincidences that, you're just noticing something that would have been there regardless.
Maybe. But again, what if we started to take notice of the things that we want in our life? What if we started to take notice of, oh, there it is again. I'd like that. I want that. I'll have that. I can have that. If she can have that, I can have that. What if we were really start what if we really started to take notice of the things that we wanted to see show up in our life?
Right,
That is the law of attraction.
right. So let me ask you this. I ended up with ice cream instead of coffee. I'm sure, just like with the balloon for me, what happens if, you didn't manifest something? What's blocking?
Oh, it could be 1,000 things, but 9 times out of 10, it's belief. But the other piece is one of the keys of really getting what you want in your life is seeing it in what's called your mind's eye. Or again, another word for that is your imagination. Another word for that, some listeners may have heard of the fourth dimension. It's all the same thing, your imagination. If you can see it in your imagination, you can hold it in your hands. Bob Proctor, famous thought leader in the topic, said if you can see it in your mind's eye, you can hold it in your hands. And if you
Mhm.
didn't quite see that red balloon in your mind's eye, like really focus on, and it's not easy, focus on seeing it, you'll struggle to see it in reality.
Right. So let me throw something out at you because,
Okay.
as you know, I love to travel.
Yes.
And this year, on my kind of big desires, was I want to go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I also happen to act as a guest speaker on cruises. And I happened to get contacted for a trip to Japan. I'm chalking this up to I have been very diligent about working on my talks, about ensuring I'm making the contacts, about making myself available, about doing all the things. And I'm not sitting here thinking that I manifested it. I'm thinking I've taken all the steps that one needs to take in order for something like this to happen. I'm
Right.
interested in your thoughts.
Okay. I'm really glad you brought this up because a lot of people think that in order to have something in your life, you can sit in your living room and never go out and never do anything and it's going to happen. That's not how it works. There's this thing called inspired action. It's where the word inspiration comes from. And what inspired action is taking action that feels natural. It's exciting. It's aligned with your goals rather than being forced or stressful. So you could have booked a trip, researched the tours. You could have made Japan happen, Sharon. You're fully
Mhm.
capable of doing that with your own force, but you didn't. You worked in inspired ways. You already love doing talks on cruises, so you were already writing those speeches. You already love the idea of researching the cruise lines and researching the countries and researching the culture. Those already feel really natural and good to you, right?
Right.
And then when the opportunity presented itself, you grabbed it. You said yes. You put in all the other necessary steps. Bingo, manifestation happens. So, inspired action is a really important part of manifesting something because you must take action of some sort, right?
So it's not just sitting around wishing for $1 million.
No, it's not. Now that's a good start. I'm not going to say it's not because without the wish it'll never happen. Without the desire, the manifestation never comes. But you must take action. You must buy the ticket. You must follow the steps. You must say yes. It's part of the law of attraction. Like positive thinking is great, but you also need to act on the opportunities when they arise.
So, what's the argument then in terms of the distinction? I'm going to come back to this again as the skeptic.
Yeah.
The distinction between doing the, what did you call it, inspired action versus the manifesting thinking around it. What's the difference between the two?
Uh, Say that one more time in a different way.
So the skeptic will sit here and say, I did A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. Explain to me the difference or the distinction
Okay.
of the act of manifesting. Like, is there a bridge there that I'm missing?
Okay. So the piece, if you can think about working harder, inspired action isn't about working harder. It's about working in alignment with your desire. So is it hard or is it aligned? And let's use your Japan trip as the perfect example. As I said earlier, Japan has been on your list for years. You could
Hmm.
have bought a ticket, done the thing, booked the tour, booked the hotel. You could have done that. You could have worked hard and just made it happen. But you didn't. You worked in alignment with the desire of wanting to go to Japan. You did the things you already love, which are the speeches that you love to say on these cruises that you get hired for. You already love doing it.
So if I had done it the first way, booked the
Yeah.
ticket, da 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 da,
Yeah.
is the feeling any different if I did it by doing the work versus manifesting it?
I don't know. You tell me. How would you have felt if you had just done the hard work? And not, it might have not have even been hard. Like if you just booked the trip, I want to do this, I'm booking the trip, we're going.
Yeah,
Or
I don't know,
how does
actually,
it
is the
feel?
answer.
So tell me this. When that cruise line called you and said, we have a tour going, this is the route, it's going to hit Japan, we'd love you to speak on that cruise, how did you feel?
Well, I'm going to go back to the word I used before, which was, delights. I was delighted.
It's still okay, great. If that's your word, that's your word. But were you really delighted? Or were you like, holy smokes, like this has been on my list and here it is and it came to me?
Yeah, I was pretty chuffed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, not, one's not better than the other. It's all about how much you want to allow life to flow and to let things come to you.
So it's about ease.
It's ease and flow, and this beautiful idea that everything you want in life will come to you in the right timing, in the right way, with the right people, if you just allow it to. So it does require some patience.
Okay, I'm not good at that.
A lot of us aren't, right? A lot of us aren't. But, if you just know, there's a knowing here. I know it will come. I know I'm going to get it. I know this will happen. It's just a matter of time. Divine timing
Mhm.
is the perfect timing. There's nothing better than divine timing, the timing of the universe.
Okay, so let's talk about timing for a second, right?
Okay.
So, as someone who's planned a lot of different complicated trips, and the weird places I've been to,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that has sort of always been my mantra is I typically choose, two, sometimes three complicated places. And the second that one gets too hard, like the flights aren't aligning, or you can't get there from here, that type of stuff, then I'll drop that one and go to the next one. And I'm wondering if that idea of timing and flow sort of speaks to the practicality of the way that I've done trip planning in the past, for example.
Right. So tell me more.
I guess what I'm basically saying is that, if I'm doing the work and I'm planning the trips, the second it gets too complicated and too difficult, like, if I was planning a trip to Botswana and it just wasn't working out, but I also had a trip planned to Namibia, and Namibia was just working out a lot easier than Botswana was, then I dump going to Botswana and I end up going to Namibia instead. I
Amazing.
wonder how that is part of, as you're mentioning, sort of divine timing, but I've just been looking at it from a different way.
Well, I would say that you get an A+ on that because that is going with the flow of life. If it's not working out, what the human in us wants to do is fight beyond that. And Abraham Hicks, which I'm sure we'll talk about 1,000 times in this series, will often say, think about how a river flows. A river always flows one way. If you are going upstream, you are in for struggle. It's not the way life is supposed to flow. So if a door is closing, or a flight isn't happening, or a hotel is booked, go with it. Move along. Do not fight, stomp your feet. Do you know who you're talking to? Type of mentality. You might get into that hotel, but you're in for something because the universe didn't flow you there for a reason. You could be avoiding a major disaster. I often talk about that with traffic, right? We get
Yeah.
so upset about being stuck in traffic. We honk our horns, we fly the bird, we get so upset. That traffic is there for a reason. It could have just you know, averted you from a major accident that you were going to be in. If we have this idea that the universe is always working for us, it always, as Gabby Bernstein says, the universe has your back. If we always think that things are happening for us and not to us, life gets so much better.
I've just had a hilarious flash in my head of, the divine timing of the universe is really sort of the antidote to the quote unquote Karens of the world getting upset over ridiculous stuff.
Oh, 100%. The Karens will not like this at all. And one of my best friends' name is Karen. So, Karen, we're not talking about you.
We're not talking about any
Yeah,
Karens we know.
the Karens are so upstream, and we all have Karens in our life. And let's face it, you and I, we've been Karens, right?
Yeah.
It's it's stopping being the Karens of the world and starting to go with the flow a lot. You can't control people, you can't control circumstances. Just go with it and see where it leads you, and it's always a more beautiful experience.
So I might be taking us on a little bit of a tangent here, and I accept that. But one of the things I'm thinking of is just the way the world is right now. Do you sit back and grab your tub of popcorn and watch what's happening? Where is the line of doing something, being somewhere, standing for something in all of this?
This is a really big topic. It's almost, it's a really big topic. It could take an entire series to talk about. uh, I think it's about how you stand on this, and I'll tell you how I stand on this, and I always have. I don't take much notice. Now, people in my life might say, how can you not notice the injustices that are going on? Or how can you not notice what's happening to this country? Or how can you not notice the way things are turning out? I just don't. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the fights. I don't get involved in the fights, because fighting is fighting, and fighting comes from fear. And I'll give you a really good example of this. I'm 56 years old. I started working when I was 22 years old. And the year that I got hired, we were in one of the worst recessions. You know it. We were in one of
Hmm.
the worst recessions of, of our time. And when I got hired with the bosses that you and I worked for, I was the first employee after she'd lost 20 in the downturn. I was the first rehire back. That was the first of three recessions and downturns that I would experience in my life. And I would argue we're about to go through a fourth. I never noticed, even during 20 years of owning my own business, I never paid any attention to what people were saying about the economy, because the universe doesn't have economic downturns. Ever. The economic downturns happen in our heads. And when a bunch of us get together and we start to decide that we're in a recession, you know, the people declare it, not the universe. In the universe, there's so much love, money, wealth, health, well being. So I don't watch the news, whether it's about, I just don't. And some people might not like that answer, but I have to be, and you and I were talking about this before we hit record. I have to be authentic in this podcast. I don't watch the news. I don't let it affect me. I keep my nose down, and I keep following the breadcrumbs that the universe provides me every single day, as much as I can in my human body.
And you can appreciate this is going to be tough for some people to digest or hear, right? We all have different circumstances in our lives.
100%. I understand this whole thing is difficult. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, it has taken me decades to get to the point where I can say, I'm going to let the universe do the work and not Fox News. That's just my opinion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, having traveled through Florida, I've been traveling through Florida as a Canadian for the past 3 weeks, and I'm often asked, so what do you think of our president? And, as Canadians, we've just said, oh, you know what? I don't think we're going to pick up on that topic today. Ha ha ha. Like it's a divide. So
Yeah.
it's just a divide. And it
Yeah.
is, even in the worst places, it's all around fear. And, just like I don't watch the news and people might not like that answer, a lot of people might not like what we're going to talk about in this podcast because shitty things happen. That's one. But things happen that end up working in our jigsaw puzzle of life that aren't necessarily great things, but sometimes great things come out of them, or beautiful things come out of them, or your desires come out of them. So the universe is kind of non-partisan. It doesn't judge, it doesn't criticize, it doesn't say yay or nay. It gives you what you've asked for. It's like electricity. Again, Bob Proctor always talks about this. When you plug in a plug into an electrical outlet that you know is going to supply power, that power can be used to cook a meal, but that power can also be used for an electric chair. You love the meal. We don't like the option of the electric chair. The power is neutral. It is power. What we're dealing
Mhm.
with here in the universe is pure power. And you have a choice. Do you want to use it for the good things you want in your life? Or do you want to use it for the things that you don't want to see in your life? It's up to you.
Well, and here's the other side of it, right? As controversial as some of the things, and these are just your opinions and my opinions, that we might say, and we're in a very fortunate place that we have an opportunity to say them. Quite frankly, if you don't like it, there's so much other content out there in the world. Um,
100%.
right? Just
100%.
find something else that you'd rather listen to, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. So I think it's time we try to do the next challenge because I know that's what you want to do is get me thinking. So, do you have a new experiment this week for me to try that goes beyond coffee or ice cream? Although I got to say, ice cream's pretty fantastic.
For sure it is. I do. So, two things here. If you didn't have any luck, though, listeners, with the coffee or the balloon, go back and do that exercise. Whether it's a coffee or a balloon or an ice cream cone or something comes to you unexpected that you didn't have to pay for that you see as a treat, do it again. It's worth it. Do the balloon again. It's worth it. It's just pure delight. If you did have luck with that, congratulations and good for you. Your new challenge is I want you to pick something slightly bigger, but still believable. Here's the problem people have with I want to win, I want to be a millionaire. They don't believe it's possible. And if you don't believe it's possible, it will never happen. Belief is a big part of this. So pick something slightly bigger. For example, maybe manifest receiving unexpected money, which could be as little as a quarter, right? It doesn't have to be a lot of money. So see yourself as receiving some unexpected money or hearing a specific song. Just like I had my three little birds happen to me in a 24-hour period. So keep it specific, but stay open ended and stay open minded and see if you can bring something slightly bigger but believable into your world. And don't put a time frame on it. It doesn't have to be within 24 hours. Just be watching for it. Just be looking for it.
Okay, and let's remind everybody the mindset in terms of how to do that.
Okay. So pick a quiet moment and I want you to close your eyes. And for all you woo woo, anti woo woo people, just do it. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths in and out. And when you can calm down a little bit, imagine seeing the thing, whatever it is. Imagine seeing somebody hand you um, money for some reason. Again, don't forget if you get a refund, if you get money back unexpectedly, that is money being given to you. It doesn't necessarily need to be cash in hand because we live in such a digital world. If you get an unexpected refund, if you get money off of something that you didn't expect, that's all fair game. Close your eyes. See this joyful uh, credit coming back to you, or this joyful money be exchanged to you. And if you've picked the song, hum the song in your head and see it as clearly as you can. This is going to take some practice if you're a beginner, and that's what we're here for. See it in your head. Feel the feeling of what you would feel when you finally receive that thing or hear that song. Put a smile on your face, open your eyes, and look out.
Okay, so that's homework for the next week. And listeners, go ahead and give that a shot. I'm going to try this as well. And we'll share our results in the next episode. And thanks, Jen. It was great to chat with you again today. Still not sure I'm 100% on board with everything, but it's always fascinating to get your perspective in terms of what's working and what's not. Can you share with us anything that you're working towards this week?
Um, well, I'm actually working towards, I'm on a across the USA journey right now, for those of you that don't know. I'm in an RV. We started in Toronto. We're going across the country, hitting hot spots and high points as far as we're concerned. And I'm currently in New Orleans. And I have to tell you that the New Orleans that we went to last night, Bourbon Street, was not exactly how I remembered it years and years and years ago. And so I am manifesting a slightly more, let's just call it different, elevated experience that I don't have to muscle and make happen. And I'm looking for something to delight me in the next 24 hours before we leave New Orleans that will open my eyes and go, wow, that was unexpected.
Okay, great. So there's some homework for me, and would love to hear the results of what you end up with on your cross country trip as well. Thanks,
Amazing.
Jennifer.
And thank you. And I just want to say to all of our listeners, if you tried the experiment, send us in your results. We want to hear about it. We want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Keep us on our toes, people. We're here to keep both the believers and the skeptics entertained.
Absolutely. And you can send that to info@truthanddare.ca. Thank you for tuning in to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. We hope today's episode left you feeling curious, wondering, and ready to listen again. Remember to subscribe, share, and connect with us for more conversations bridging belief and skepticism.
So until next time, keep setting those intentions, challenging those doubts, and creating the reality you desire. Stay tuned for the next episode.